Alright, I'm back, and I have gone ahead and inserted a pin. As you can see, I drilled a hole and inserted the pin and glued it with some CA glue. This is just basically a piece of a paper clip, and now it's solidly in place. So now the next step will be to surround it with some Aves epoxy, which as I'm sure many of you know is a sculpting material that we use a lot in modeling, one of a couple of brands. It comes in two parts, two components which are mixed, and they get the consistency of modeling clay. You can use it to sculpt onto here, and within a few hours it gets hard as a rock, and then you can sand it and blend it in. That'll be the next thing I do. Should be able to get it to taper just like the other corner, which this is what I want to reproduce. Okay, so that'll be the next part. See you soon. Okay, here's the Aves epoxy, part A and part B, as you can tell. Two different components. You can obtain this online. It's one of several different modeling compounds. I have another one. I have to look through my supplies. I forget the name of it, but I will, since you guys want the information. So as you can see, the two parts look different. Oh, hair there, probably from my dog. This one is gray, whereas this one is greenish. I'm just going to take a couple little pieces and mix them, and then we'll mold them onto the place. Okay, so I've taken two pieces more or less equal sized, and I'm going to mix them together and mold it around so that like I said, it gets the consistency of clay. You can do it with your finger, you could do it with a spatula, you can do it with anything you want. It softens up as you mix it. I like to roll it around so it gets mixed in. Eventually it takes kind of a uniform color, like a uniform gray. Hopefully I've gotten enough. It looks like it'll be enough. Okay, actually it gets a little warm. I don't know if it's just because of my molding and squeezing it or what, but see, eventually it sort of becomes uniformly colored like a gray. Once you get it mixed in like that, it's pretty much ready to be used as a molding. Alright, let's see if I can get the camera set up so I could do this while you guys watch. Okay, so the goal is to reconstruct that in such a way that it kind of reproduces the other side. Now you got a few hours to play with it. It's not going to get hard instantaneously. wasn't focusing it. I'll play around with it for a little bit and I'll come back after I've gotten it into a better shape. Alright, so I've managed to sculpt it into position using a combination of my fingers and some molding spatulas. I had to cut a little piece of the pin off, it was protruding, and I had to cut a piece of the clay off. It's a rough shape. This is not what it's meant to look like on its final iteration. Once it hardens, I'll sand it and blend it in so these edges all disappear. But you know, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for myself by giving it a shape that will require less sanding. Anyway, once it's hard, I'll come back and I'll show you. Right now it's soft like clay. Okay, see you soon. Okay, one more look. I've managed to approximate the shape of the other corner as much as I can. It's got a little bubble there. I'm not going to do anything with that. It's going to be on the underside. So, but yeah, I think it'll. Where is it? There it is. I think once it hardens and I blend it in, it's going to approximate the other side pretty well. Okay. Okay, I'm back and it's the next day, and this is hard as a rock now. So I'm going to go ahead and start sanding. I'm going to use a fairly thick grit. I got a nice 100 grit right here, which should help me out with this. And I'm going to start blending it. I'll come back later. Alright, so I've done some sanding using both 100 and 60 grit, 60 for the rough removal, and then 100 a little smoother. I could go higher, but I don't think it's necessary. This is pretty close. The blending is pretty good. It feels very smooth. I don't feel any ledge anywhere. Same on this side. And I've been able to reproduce the ledge. It's a little longer than this side, but that's alright. That's not going to be very noticeable. Okay, so the next step is to apply the adhesion promoter, which is a pre-primer spray. I got to make sure this resin is clean. I believe I washed this model already. And once I apply the adhesion promoter, then I'll do the primer, and it should all be uniform. All these defects and everything will disappear. Okay. Alright, so I've done some sanding using both 100 and 60 grit, 60 for the rough removal, and then 100 a little smoother. I could go higher, but I don't think it's necessary. This is pretty close. The blending is pretty good. It feels very smooth. I don't feel any ledge anywhere. Same on this side. And I've been able to reproduce the ledge. It's a little longer than this side, but that's alright. That's not going to be very noticeable. Okay, so the next step is to apply the adhesion promoter, which is a pre-primer spray. I got to make sure this resin is clean. I believe I washed this model already. And once I apply the adhesion promoter, then I'll do the primer, and it should all be uniform. All these defects and everything will disappear. Okay. Alright, so it took some digging through my stash, but I finally got my I found my adhesion promoter. It's simply Duplicolor. I know it says plastic, but you can use it with resin, and it works pretty well. I'll spray that first, and then of course a primer. Again, I use Duplicolor automotive gray, so it gives me a uniform appearance. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, I'm applying the adhesion promoter to everything. By the way, this is one of many tricks and tips that I picked up from our brother Boyd Crompton, who I'm sure you guys know. This stuff dries out pretty quickly, so I should be able to apply primer soon. So I'll be back in a few minutes.